how does a phenomenal memory develop in humans? Scientists are convinced that this superpower is genetically determined, that a person is born with it, just like, for example, an ability for maths calculations or perfect pitch. But does this mean that super memory is only a gift of nature? The heroes of our program believe they know the answer, that memory is a skill that can be learned and developed successfully. Right now, they are going to demonstrate what any average person could remember if they consistently train their memory. The abilities of the participants will be observed and assessed by recognized specialists who study non-ordinary indicators of intellect and human psychology. They are the neurophysiologist Alexander Yakovlevich Kaplan and the psychotherapist Andrei Gennadievich Zhilyaev. Soon we will find out whose abilities science recognizes as phenomenal. My name is Pavel Palagin. I began to consciously train my memory in the second year of university, when I was a student, because it was very difficult for me to study. I began to train my memory, learn speed reading, and generally train my brain. I realized that I could take tests and exams 5 to 10 times faster, which is much easier, simpler. Today, Pavel Palagin is considered one of the leading experts in Russia, teaching speed reading and memory development. He says that he can memorize large sequences of numbers and images and quote impressive fragments of various texts from memory. Memory for me is a muscle that I work out both for myself and in other people. I like doing it and seeing the positive results in the people who surround me. To test Pavel Palagin's memory, scientists have prepared 25 cards, each with arrows pointing in different directions. Pavel's task is to memorize the cards in a short time and to accurately call out the sequence of directions of the arrows. Hello! Good afternoon, Pavel. Nice to see you. Let's do this. I'll now press the timer. I will tell you, you turn and remember your cards. You have 5 minutes to do it. Yeah. Are you ready? I'm ready. Let's go. Pavel's task isn't easy. There are actually more objects to remember than it seems at first glance. There are indeed 25 cards, but with the number of arrows on them, there are actually 50 images. Only 2 cards are duplicated in the whole sequence. The combination of arrows on all others is not repeated. You have 30 seconds left. While Pavel tries to sort his memories, the experts decide to immediately confuse him. They ask that he call out the sequence of arrows not from first to last, as he was expecting, but in a more random order. The third row. Yeah, the last card. The last card. Yes, we have it there. Up and left. Correct. Excellent, yes. So name the bottom row and the first card from left to right. Yeah. Fifth row, first card, this is up and right. Correct, exactly. The third row, okay? And the third card, if you count left to right. Such an interesting direction. It's a turn and a turn. Correct. Now voice the sequence to us, here, from the top row to the bottom one, from left to right. From left to right, the top row. There we have turn, up. Then left, then turn, right, then down, right, and turn, up. Next row, turn, right, left, down, left, turn, then up, down, right, turn, down, turn, right, left, up, left, then it's left, turn. The fourth row is now going right, left, up, right, up, right, up, and turn, and then we just have up, right, down, right, up, turn, right, turn, and up, up. Well, we saw that there is one mistake, but in my opinion, the result is magnificent. It clearly goes beyond what an ordinary person can do many times over. What do you think, Andrei Gennadievich? I agree, absolutely. Well, there was one mistake. As you know, simultaneously, you cannot hold more than 5. Yes, 7 plus minus 2. The reference points normally. 7 plus minus 2, absolutely. Yes, this is a psychological rule. Yes, and here you have reached far beyond this limit. The focus of attention is much more powerful and broader than it would normally be. And you know, I have a question. I was going to ask you some questions and then check the memory. I thought that if it was in that order, you would lose your memory. Somehow, you might forget something. Now we'll talk for 10 to 15 minutes and you won't be able to remember the sequence. Does your memory disappear? It's a very good question, and because I've already memorized and put it in my memory boxes, then I think that if now we communicate for 5 to 10 minutes, then afterwards I'll still be able to remember it. For me, it was a challenge. It was an assignment. I've never memorized so many directions in my life. It was really interesting that I made the one mistake exactly at the moment when I was being told how much time was left. The focus of attention slightly shifted, and because of that, during the first attempt, I mixed up one direction. It was a difficult task. I'm glad that I managed it. This is my personal game, my personal challenge, so to speak. Even though there was one mistake, the scientists agreed. Pavel Palagin has managed to develop a truly extraordinary memory. But will the experts recognize it as phenomenal? That we will find out a little later. My name is Yaroslav Timofeyev. I'm 29 years old. First of all, nature gave me perfect pitch. Secondly, I started my career as a pianist at the age of 4. I played the piano and then I became a musicologist. Now I combine those two professions as I not only listen and remember arias, but I can play them as well. Yaroslav remembers by heart hundreds of operatic arias. It might seem that there is nothing surprising there because he is a professional musicologist. However, to recall the name of a piece, he needs to hear neither the performer nor the musical accompaniment of the orchestra. All he needs is to see the singer's articulation. My friends test me from time to time, showing me YouTube videos without sound, not from the beginning, and ask me to name them. It's always a pleasure to test your skills. With Yaroslav, in preparation for the test, we selected 100 musical pieces. There are thousands of operas to date, and it's impossible to know them all. But, so that the task is not too simple for our hero, both Russian and Italian arias are chosen, with male and female vocal parts. Then, without Yaroslav's involvement, from these 100 arias, the scientists selected 3, helped by Yelena Zakharova, a soloist from the musical theater New Opera. We recorded and edited one passage from each aria. During the test, these passages will be displayed on the monitor without sound. Hello. Good afternoon, Yaroslav. Yaroslav, we have already heard a lot about your capabilities. And today we have prepared a test for you. With Yelena's help, we want to see how it really is possible what you can do. Let's get down to this test. Sure. O mio bambino, caro, this is Laurata's aria from the opera Gianni Schicchi, Giacomo Puccini. That's right. If I may, I'll play the beginning.
Well done, Yaroslav.
Thank you. Let's go on. Yaroslav managed the first task in 30 seconds. Let's see how quickly he can find the name of the second opera in his memory. It seems to me that this is an aria in Russian, but as if it's not from the beginning. Just a moment. Aha, this is the Arioso of Lubasha from the opera The Tsar's Bride. Yes, great. Bravo, bravo. Yes, a difficult task after all. Well, of course. Well, let's try. The last, the most difficult one, maybe. It's definitely not Russian. Maybe Italian. I think that this is the aria from the opera Rural Honor by Mascagni. Voi lo sapeto, oh mama. That's right. It's astonishing how quickly and unmistakably Yaroslav identified and played all three passages. It seems that all participants in the process are genuinely amazed by the abilities of our hero.
Thank you, Yaroslav. Such a pleasure.
Thank you. Yaroslav, you have unique capabilities, of course. Unique capabilities. I'm a physiologist, a neurophysiologist, and the first thing I would like to ask, and I'm curious about this, we know that facial expressions are always combined with sound, and when we talk, we get information not only from sound. Of course, we can perceive by hearing, but here you have a unique case where there is no sound. Do you have this music in your head when you see the lips, when you only see the articulation, or does it happen differently? This is how it happens. First, when I see the first movements of the lips, I have complete silence. I don't understand. And at some point, after 5 seconds, after 10, it starts to sound. I think that rhythm is very important here. The arias that we listened to just now, they are more or less well known. That is, I've heard them, of course, in my life more than once. And at some point, from my memory, they penetrate the brain. So practically, this is primarily regulated by your musical erudition. I think so, yes. Imagine that we are beyond the bounds of your erudition, that it is impossible to know the part. Then the articulatory movements won't help the music appear, will they? Do I understand that correctly? Correct. In addition, in opera, in general, the articulation is very different from normal speech. Vocalists are taught to do all the vowels as O, for the mouth to be round, if I understand correctly. And so, most often, it's not so much the articulation, but the rhythm that helps me, and the movement of the throat and vocal cords. That is, when the singer sings high, it can be seen. Clear. Of course, if Yelena sings an aria which I don't know and have never heard, I won't be able to play it. Or if they are sung by those who didn't study professionally. Yes, that is, for example, a familiar part. But it won't be articulated as accurately and refined as by a professional. Is that the same? Then they will be difficult to recognize. It'll be more difficult than that, even when a professional singer sings, somewhat quietly. Clear, chamber. Almost like for herself, the vocal cords move differently. In other words, this is a narrow area for cognition, if you like, based on the articulatory movements of trained singers. Yes. Well, listen, let's try to check. Let us give you the version where it is clearly not an opera singer. Here, Andrei Gennadievich, for example, can perform some part for you. Well, I'm ready to articulate only... Yes, that is, but close enough, I think, to Yeah, let's try. It's quite famous. You know it for sure. But it's interesting that he wasn't professionally trained. Completely. Tell me, please, is this only about opera? Yes, or something classical music and opera. Okay, not a problem. The knowledge of our expert in classical music proved to be no less impressive. Now Andrei Zhelyaev articulates the aria of Susanin from the opera Ivan Susanin, from memory. This is a very famous piece, but will Yaroslav recognize it? I can't recall. This is Ivan Susanin, Life for the Tsar. Susanin's aria, yes. You'll rise my dawn? That's right. Well, your mouth moves completely differently. That's what I'm saying. That's what we wanted to know. Can an operetta part be identified? Well, if it's well known. That's why I asked and let's try. Maybe it's on the tip of my tongue. Well, that's it. You have disgraced me. No, I don't know. It's Mr. X's part. Yes, this is the part of X. Okay, you've identified it, haven't you? Yelena identified.
I have.
Well, bravo. Yes, this is reasoned rather by the desire to clarify what component is this situation. Yes, but I have to admit honestly that I don't work with operetta. I got it. Yes, but in general, I realized long ago that this ability is absolutely useless. It is very narrow, and someone suggested that I go to the FSB to work in decryption. Well, this is completely unnecessary. We've been discussing the applied aspect. No, your capabilities are unique. They should be used. And they are focused on a certain area. Clearly, we cannot do everything. It's a great pleasure to test myself in this challenge and to have the opportunity to immediately guess the aria and play it on the instrument. And thank you very much for immediately identifying the narrow limits of my capabilities, because it's very useful for me. This means that without the help of vocal cords and without the help of the correct the correct articulation, yes, it's very difficult for me to identify them. Thank you. Yes. Godspeed. Yaroslav brilliantly handled the main task, but wasn't able to do as well with the second part of the test. The result is ambiguous. How will the scientists assess this performance? Will we soon find out?
My name is Konstantin Dudin. I'm 22 years old. I'm a teacher of memory development.
Like our first hero, Konstantin Dudin was born with an ordinary memory. In fact, remembering large amounts of information was very tiring for him, and unsurprisingly, while at school, Konstantin didn't do well in any subject.
Before the 10th grade, I got only C's and F's. But when I got into mnemonics, my life changed a lot, because I realized that remembering could be much easier. I memorized a poem in 5 minutes, different formulas, the preparation for the exams. It all took me 3 minutes. Maybe a little more. By the 11th grade, I had improved all my grades and received my diploma without a single C.
Could Konstantin Dudin be the new Solomon Shereshevsky? We are now going to find out. To test his memory, scientists prepared 25 cards, but this time each one has a sequence of 3 letters. The task for our participant is to remember them all, and by ear. And of course, repeat them without any mistakes.
Let's try.
Okay. Take the mask.
I should put it on, right?
Let's reveal a small secret. Initially, Konstantin, like Pavel Palagin, had to visually memorize the sequence of letters. However, right before filming, the experts decided to complicate the task, to challenge not only the visual, but the audio memory of Konstantin. He agreed, though he wasn't prepared for this change. Start.
Nur.
Next.
Tюг.
Next.
УФЛ.
Next.
АМП.
Next.
ИЛК.
Next.
УЧК.
All the combinations of letters have been sounded. In total, Konstantin memorized the sequence of 75 objects in only 2 minutes and 49 seconds. Did our participant hurry to impress the scientists? We will find out right now. I'm ready. Great, then with your permission, in the sequence that we stipulated, please name the syllables that we presented to you.
N-U-R, T-U-G, U-F-L, A-M-P, I-L-K, I-L-Y, A-I-N, Ч-К-И, Е-Ч-К, Л-Е-Б, У-Н-Д. У-Р-И, Р-Я-П, А-М-Р, Е-Д-В, О-Л-Б, У-Ж, мягкий знак, У-Ч-К, Е-Ф-И, К-Р-А, К-Н-О, Н-И-Г, Е-Р, мягкий знак, И, К-Л, У-М-К.
Thank you. Are there any mistakes? There are no mistakes. Now let's break it down. Do you remember our agreement concerning numbering? Please. The sixth syllable.
Number 6.
Yes.
I-L-U.
Thank you. 15th.
Е, Д, В.
And please, the 25th.
У-М-К.
Right. Yes, thank you. And if it's possible, indicate the syllables in the reverse order from the 25th to the 1st.
I'll try.
К-М-У. Л-К-Ы. Мягкий знак. Р-Е. Г-И-Н.
To the great surprise of the scientists, Konstantin began to not only reproduce all the syllables in reverse order, but also to pronounce each of them backwards. At the same time, his speed remained practically unchanged. It's astonishing.
Р-У-Н.
There are no mistakes again, are there? No mistakes. In direct and reverse order. Yes, great. In about 2 minutes, you made a move there and back. It's very fast.
Can I take it off, right?
Yes, take it off, of course. Thank you. I've noticed that before some syllables, you make such a pause, a longer one than before others. Is this connected with anything?
With the complexity of perception and reproduction.
Particularly this syllable, this combination of 3 letters, or...
Yes.
And you help yourself very much with your hands, with some movements. Is this that you give yourself some kind of program? Or is it elements of memory?
Well, it has already become fashionable to call it the mind palace, or in general it's called the localization system. I am moving in my apartment. I move the images slightly faster this way, interacting with them. There are certain books that I go through, turning over the pages, I look at what's written in them.
That is, its operation with images.
Yes.
You do with them.
Yes.
Being emotional, don't you? Yes, Konstantin, I'm lost for words, of course. To memorize 75 letters in 2.5 minutes and reproduce them in direct and reverse order. This is, of course, a unique ability. This is, of course, amazing, and for me, it is unique. Well, you know, I'm impressed too, because it is such a large amount of information, and the information that was learned not as a whole, but as separate elements, and their presentation. This requires a very large memory resource.
It was difficult. To me, in general. Because this test you gave had some unexpected elements. To remember by ear, because I memorize images and the visual channel is my everything. So to change from visual memory to audio memory and memorize it, well, it was really an interesting task too.
So, all the performances are finished. Now the experts must decide which of the participants really does have a phenomenal memory and whose results are of interest to science. Well, I would start with Yaroslav. The fact is that his skill, and I would call it more of a skill, is in many ways unique. But this uniqueness is due to a number of fairly clear circumstances. He has excellent knowledge of the articulatory features of professionally trained artists, of those things that are familiar to him. Give him unfamiliar material, and this skill, it turns out, is alas useless. I agree with you. Of course, this is a very narrow skill, developed by an interested person, a professional in his sphere. He is a musicologist, a musician. The operas that he knows are easy to identify for him. Additionally, he identifies them in the performance of the singers prepared by masters. And if it is performed by someone else, we will not say who. Yes, it doesn't work at all. That's right. If you don't mind, I'll move on to Pavel. Without a doubt, the mnemonical skill is very interesting, very important, and very valuable. And Pavel, in my opinion, showed it very, very well. If you remember, when analyzing the directions of those graphical arrows, we didn't specify, for example, the direction of certain turns. Pavel insisted on this. It took him a little longer, and then, all the same, but a mistake was made there. Therefore, in my opinion, this is very interesting, very valuable. And this can be named a capability. Of course, as in the first and second cases, these are not the kind of abilities that are given from birth, because there are few characters, and, in fact, not so many cards for a unique person. Yes. Speaking of Constantine, in my opinion, he showed here the most mature level of development of those very capabilities that, in general, may be defined as unique. I was very impressed. First, the speed and clarity of the demonstration that was presented. For example, the fact that he easily reproduced all the cards in reverse order without making a mistake, and practically without pauses. In my opinion, this indicates a very high level of a formed skill. 75 letters back and forth. I agree with you that it was very easy for him to do. This, of course, already requires much more coordinated resources and much more developed skills. Therefore, I agree with you that, of course, Constantine has the most striking capabilities among the participants whom we've been discussing. I would even suggest taking Constantine for additional testing, additional research, in accordance with some regulated terms set by specialists. Well, I think so. I agree with you. Constantine is of particular interest from the point of view of further study. Human memory remains one of the most intriguing mysteries in modern science. Despite the huge amount of research conducted in this world, scientists still do not have a complete understanding of how it actually works. In which part of the brain are memories being stored? Can memory improve or deteriorate when exposed to external factors? For example, it is known that stressful situations can reduce the effectiveness of memorization, even in people with a phenomenal memory. However, what kind of stress and how negatively it affects memory is not yet clear. We are going to conduct a small experiment led by Alexander Kaplan. During the experiment, we will try to find out, can a stress test in the form of intensive cardio training affect the effectiveness of Konstantin Dudin's memorization? We will record the physical parameters of Konstantin at rest and in motion using a heart rate monitor. Alexander Kaplan will test the state of Konstantin's memory before and after cardio training. Konstantin will be asked to memorize 2 sequences of numbers consisting only of zeros and ones. Konstantin, We're starting the experiment. Now I'll tell you when to start. At this point, you remove the mask, don't start counting figures right away. Just look around, adapt. Then start counting. I'll begin the timer, and when I say start, okay?
Yeah.
Let's now remove the mask, but don't look at the numbers yet. Just adapt to the light. I will say when.
Yeah, ready to try.
Well, now I say go, and you turn to numbers. Well, go. Well, 45 seconds.
And can I ask you about a number?
Yes?
The second line from the bottom, the two right blocks.
001, 011.
Let me check what's next. Is it correct? 110011.
Correct.
I'm ready, I understand, yes.
Let's go.
001. 101. 010. 101. 101. 111. 101. 110. 110. 010. 000. 010. 101. 001. 011. 110. 011. 001.
Now there was a mistake.
101.
Correct.
Sorry, 101. 111.
It's perfect. Well, there was a small error here, but you've immediately corrected it.
Yeah.
So the full sequence of figures from 20 blocks was reproduced. So Constantine, one part of our experiment is complete. You did everything in a state of rest and relaxation. This is your maximum result. Now we want to give you some cardio, physical exercise, and see how it will be after exercise. Are you ready for this test?
I'll try.
Well, let's start. The coach will help you calculate the loading so that this is the maximum efficient exercise for our experiment. Please. Well, Constantine, let's begin. How old are you?
22.
Then I suggest that for the exercise to be as tedious as possible, you would have to run at a speed of 9 miles per hour for 5 to 6 minutes. This will give you those pulse characteristics that will tire you in the proper way. How are you feeling?
Fine.
Try to breathe every 2 or 3 steps. 2 or 3 steps and inhale. 2 or 3 steps and exhale, so that the breathing can be as equal as possible. By the way, the indication of Constantine's pulse, which was taken before the start of the control test, ranged from 79 to 86 beats per minute. This is quite high. Most likely, the cardiac acceleration was caused by the strong emotions of our participant. Let's see how the pulse changes at the end of the running exercise. While Constantine is running his distance, Alexander Kaplan changes the sequence of numbers on the board for the second part of our experiment. We are completing the physical exercise. Please gradually slow down and stop. So, now calmly come to me. How do you feel now? Are you ready to do anything at all?
Well, let's try.
Yes. Just catch your breath while I tell you the rules for our scientific experiment. You'll now rest a little bit. After that, turn to the rows of numbers. This is a new sequence of numbers. I will record the time of memorizing and your pulse too.
Ready.
Go.
Yes, stop. Can I put on the mask?
Yes. Let's go, the first one.
101. 101. 010. 101. 111. 100. 101. The next one after it. 110. 101. 000. 010. 011. 010. 111. 001. 010. 100. 001. 010. 111.
No, the last one is a mistake. Can you guess?
I can only guess that was 010.
It's one exact mistake. 101. Take off the mask, will you? So we have an excellent result. 43 seconds. The time you spent on memorizing. And earlier we had, in a state of rest, 45 seconds. But the exercise has led to the fact that your pulse was 187 beats per minute. With this cardio, you still showed an excellent result. Just one mistake. Konstantin is clearly upset with his result, but our expert, Alexander Kaplan, is pleasantly surprised. After all, one mistake is within the margin for statistical errors. So the outcome of the whole experiment can be interpreted as positive. The intense physical exercise, which raised Konstantin's pulse to such high levels, did not significantly affect the state of his phenomenal memory. But Alexander Kaplan expected a different result. He was almost 100% sure that Konstantin would make many more mistakes. The reason is the laws of physiology. During intense physical activity, our body focuses on transporting all nutrients, and in particular glucose, to the muscles. But glucose is the main fuel for our brain, so such a significant outflow inevitably leads to a decrease in cognitive functions, specifically affecting the effectiveness of memorization. However, in the case of Konstantin, the laws of physiology did not seem to work. Perhaps this is another mystery of memory that scientists will have to solve. But the fact that Konstantin Dudin, a man born with the most ordinary memory, was able to develop it and turn it into a super ability doesn't cast any doubt. His example proves to become a man with a super memory is quite real. You should try it too.